Hey gamers, today we're talking about Gutenberg. Let's check it out. Setup for the game is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're going to shuffle all these decks here and then deal out those cards. So these type of patron cards will go across the bottom. You'd shuffle the gears, put out 4 here. This is for a 4-player game, of course. Shuffle this deck, put out 4 rewards there. And then, of course, shuffle the letters and deal 4 out there, and ink, and shuffle 4 out there. You're also going to randomly select ink tokens and then put them in the little ink areas in each little section there, and then you are ready to go. Looking at the player board here, the red player will have their little player board here. They'll have one of their little circle dots there. The other one was on the 0 on the score track there. If you're playing with the advanced game, you'll also shuffle these and deal 2 out to each player. They'll choose one, discard the other, and then of course insert whatever that special ability is, and all these are mentioned in the rule book right up here. So they have a special ability throughout the game. Also, all the players are going to select a combo of a letter and ink card. It can be any type. So for instance, I could take this one and let's say this one up here. And then the next player go, and then the next, then me again, and maybe I'd take this one and that one. Okay, you're going to usually have 1 left, so you deal out 1, the number of players plus 1. Once everyone has their orders, they'll put them in these 4 spots here. If you ever get another order and you don't have room for it, you'll just discard one of the orders. Now, I'll tell you how to read the orders in a minute, but once you mix them together, they may not be unmixed. Like you couldn't just replace the ink or the letter on one of them. You have to complete it as is or just discard it and get a new one. First player will get this token. All players start with 10 money, and then each player gets to decide which of these letter types, and these are all wooden little types here, they're beautiful, that they would want. Now, of course, you would want 3 letter types that would match, hopefully, some of the letters that you have picked out. Each player gets one of these. They'll put behind their player screen, and the player screen's wonderful because it tells you the sequence of play here. It shows all the iconography on emblems that you'll find on cards and whatnot. And then it even says, hey, how many black cubes each player starts with. And then it says, hey, once first player passes it to second player and he moves to last, every player gives him a black cube. And that will basically just reset this number to where first player is now last with 10 cubes. So if I was first player, I would start with 7 black cubes and we're ready to play. Now, the sequence of order is really neat. First one is to turn gears. And the first round, you may not have any gears to turn, but when you do, they all fit into these little rings here, and you turn them and they'll all turn together. And the highlighted action on the board here will be the action, the free action that's available to you that round. Now after that, it goes into the planning stage, and this is sort of like the game Fresco. What you're going to be doing is putting these little black cubes in this area in the order of what you really want to do. So if I really wanted to do, let's say this one, and go first, then I would have 2, 1, 1, and 2. Now, whoever had the most in this row would go first. I have all 4 players. If it was tie, you would look at the turn order to determine who would win that tie. And if you did not have a cube in a certain action, then you would not be doing that action for that round. Again, this isn't the strength of that action, it's just whether you'll get to go first during that action or not. And as you see, each action here on your little player board matches the actions that you can do on the big board. So let's look at the big board and see what those actions are. The first action you can do is choose a combo of letters and ink. Again, it can be any one of these letters and any one of these ink, but it must be one of each. And after that, the next thing would be to pick inks. The person who has the most ink on here would go first, and they would select just one of these 4 groups, and they would purchase from left to right, meaning you couldn't skip. Now the first one's free, the second one costs a coin, the third one costs 2 coins. But I couldn't say, well, I want the free one and I really want that gray one for 2. No, I would have to buy that blue one as well for 1 if I wanted to get that gray. Now what if I only wanted these 2 but not that one? Well, I could leave that there. And then a second player, if all they wanted is gray, and let's say this was gone, then maybe instead of picking one of these 2, they'll just go here, pay 2, and that will end their turn. After that, it then goes to these improvement cards. Starting with whoever's going first, they'll pick one of these and they will move up those special markings on their own player board. And as you see, some of them, you can move up twice in that specialty. Or you can ignore both symbols and move up a separate one. So let's say someone took the letter upgrade and I really wanted a letter upgrade, so I took this one. And instead of going up on whatever that, my chisels and my ink, what I'm going to do is cash them both in and pretend that it was a letter and go at 1 on my letter. And you can do that for any of these cards. And here's what I'm talking about on your player board. As you see, the emblems are here. So if I had taken that A in the fur, I'd move up each one here. Now, something happens the first time you hit 2, 4, 5, and 6. Any one of these cubes, not all of them, just any one. So let's say this one moved up. Well, then I would get to move this to my second tier, and I would get any ink. Again, once someone goes to 4, now if he hit 2, I wouldn't get that again. It's just one time only reward. And then when someone went up to 4, then I can move it down here, get another ink. This one is get another order. That's letters and ink. And this one is get another letter type. All right, so those are rewards you can get as you reach the top. And as you see, reaching the top not only give you victory points wherever you are at, but can also give you coin here as well. And at the end of the game, wherever your markers are at, that will give you, you will score points. So this one will score 6, this one will score 3, this one will score 1 because it's right there. This one would score none because it didn't make it up there. But that's for end game. Next up is the gears. You'll pick any one of these gears and set it on your player board at any one you want. Now, again, the iconography is very simple to understand. You can trade 1 ink for another type or 1 letter for another type. Or, hey, whatever's the lowest expertise on your track, you can move it up by 1. You'll set it to whichever of those light colored areas on your board are, and that way it's available for you to use that round. Speaking of the gears, pretty much throughout the game, especially in the 3rd round, you'll probably have 3 gears like this. If you bought another gear, you may replace it by using one of your unused gears. What does that mean? Well, let's say earlier I had taken this advantage. Okay, if I was to get a new gear, I could not replace that one. I'd have to replace either this one or the other one. So that's just another option you can do in the game when you win gears. Or if you don't want to win the gear, you can also turn the gear for 1 turn instead and have 3 new options out. Again, I wouldn't be able to take this one if I've already taken 1 action on that wheel this round. At the end of the round, any of these markers, and we're just using the black markers here, would move off, and then you're free to take any of the highlighted actions for the next round. How the gears work: after a few rounds, your board may look like this. And if you want to get a new gear, you can just replace it using, just replace any of these other gears and put the new one down. Unless you have already used that special action for that turn, that gear may not be replaced. Instead of buying a gear, you may just put an action on a gear to switch out one of these gears and put it to any spot you want. So for instance, if I didn't want this one, I kind of wanted that letter one. And instead of grabbing a gear, I could just move this one up here and then later on take that action, and I'd mark it with the cube that I've taken it, so I couldn't take another action on that little gear for this round. Now at the end of every round, obviously you take these up and then turn the wheel at the very beginning of the game, the gears, and as you see, 3 new little areas, this one has nothing on it, give me actions for the next round. And the last thing you can do is pick a special reward. This is the very last action you'll be doing on the patrons page. Now in the first 2 rounds, as you see this round tracker here, you can only take one of these 4 actions: get 2 ink from the bag, get 3 coin, upgrade something on your track, or get another order. And everyone has a bonus cube, and what they'll do is they'll place their cube on the reward they're taking. That means that no other player can take that reward for that round, so the other players have to take something else. Now pretty soon it's going to move up here where they can also take one of these patron orders or select from any of the ones back here. So in this example, my level A type on my player board needs to be at the 4 spot, and I have to give up 2 red. Once I complete that, I take it, tuck it under. At the end of the game, each one of these are worth 8 victory points. This one says, hey, my A's need to be at a 4, and I need to have 2 letter I's. Now, just because you have them, you don't have to give them up. You never give up your letters, you just have to have them. So show that you have them, and then you can take this card. Again, each one of these are pretty self-explanatory. Now, what about when fulfilling orders? Well, when fulfilling an order, you obviously have to have all the letter types there, and that's all you really need to score a base order. What you'll get is the coin underneath it. That's 3 coin. In addition to that, if you had some red ink, according to this order, I would get 2 victory points. And if my A and my fur were at, or binding, I guess, it's leather binding there, were at a 2 each on the track there, I would get a bonus 3 points. And if I scored both of these, then I would get another bonus 3 points. Now, remember, you can score none of this, 1 of them, or both of them, and get all 3 essentially, whatever you want to do. Now let me give you another example of completing orders. Let's say I was about to complete this order, and look, I also have an AU here. So can I take this AU here and use those there? No. I would have to get a new A and U letter. I would have to buy these and place them here if I wanted to complete both. So again, just because you have the same letters down here as you do up here, you don't get to complete both because you have the A and the U. You must buy additional letters. You can buy letters at any time. How much do letters cost? This is very simple. It costs whatever number it is that's going into your hand. So for instance, this fourth one would cost $4. This fifth one would cost $5, and so on and so forth. So the more letters you buy, the more expensive it will get. But remember, you're making money in several different ways in the game. After 6 rounds, the game ends. You'll add up the rest of your victory points from wherever your tracks were. You're going to add up any 8 victory points for every patron you have. And for every $3 you have, you're also going to get 1 victory point. And whoever has the most victory points wins. Now, there are some promos for this game. There are these 2 little promos that you can have that give you special abilities in the game. And there is a promo pack with a bunch of extra cards for the game. And that's Gutenberg. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? I've had my eye on this game for quite some time, and I'm so glad I got it. I like the theme. I like the artwork. I like the gameplay. My nephew, who is a little bit of a critic on board games these days, was like, oh, that's fun. Yeah, he kept getting into it, and the more and more we kept playing it, and he started seeing more and more strategies. I love the pieces. I just love it. It's so thematic. It's easy to learn. There's tons of replayability. Do you need the promo pack and the little promos? No, not really. I mean, that promo pack just has little special orders, meaning, hey, if you have a blue ink with this order, you'll get another extra additional points. Or if the letter U is matched up with this ink card, you'll get another 3 coin or whatever. It's interesting. Is it necessary? No, not really. The game is good as is. A really good one. I know out of all the games my nephew has played with me this year, this one is leading. So definitely well worth it. All right, gamers, that's it for now. Till next time, you know what to do. Game on!